Okay, it started already? Okay. All right, so the title of this is What is Vaginal Prolapse? And the reason I'm doing this video is because I guess it's around September I had my annual OBGYN checkup, and as women, you have your annual. After you begin to be sexually active, you're supposed to have an annual each year. They do a pap smear to check for HPV, which causes, can cause uterine cancer and other cancers of that area. So, anyway, went in for my annual, and the licensed practical nurse, they come in and they do their preliminary questions from the year before. Of course, depending on your age, your questions are a little different. So, asked when was my last period. I'm perimenopausal. Can't say menopausal yet. The doctor says I have to be a full year with no cycle to say that I'm menopausal. So I'm still in the perimenopausal stage, going on 3 years. So anyway, so LPN does her preliminary questions. She lifts she lifts the sheet and she goes, "Oh my." And I'm like, "Oh, what do you mean? Oh my, that is not what you want to hear at your annual when someone's looking at in your pelvic region, at your nether parts, your vaginal region." And she's like, "Oh, did you know that you have vaginal prolapse?" I'm like, "No, I didn't know. I don't, what is that?" And I was like, the women in my family are very vocal about women's health, and breast cancer runs in my family. So that's always, "Oh, have you done your checkup? Did you get your mammogram?" All of that. People in my family have had what do you call it? Like uterine tumors, have had to have hysterectomies. Someone has had cervical, not, no, I'm sorry, not cervical, but ovarian cancer, had to get ovaries removed. Various different things. Very open about talking about women's health in my family. So I was like, look, this is not something I've ever heard of. It's not something that runs in my family. She's like, "Oh no, it's not genetic." And so she goes on to start asking these these questions. Let me back up though. I'm not gonna be able to tell the whole story in one video. I'm gonna do this in a series of videos. So this one I'm just talking about the initial diagnosis and my response. So anyway, so she started asking me all these questions. Have you had frequent constipation? No, I eat plenty of fruits and vegetables. Nutrition is something that I teach to kids in my profession. And so yeah, I try to live what I teach. I eat plenty of vegetables. I make sure I eat whole grain bread. Try to make half my grain wholes, whether it's bread, crackers, things like that. Oh, I don't have a problem with constipation. She's like, "Okay, well, do you hold your pee for a long time?" I'm like, hold my pee. She's like, "Yeah. Do you work a job where you're so busy that you can't go right away and you have to hold your pee?" I was like, sometimes it depends on if I'm having a session with kids. Yeah, I might have to, hold my pee. And, I said, well, I do wear a penny liner because if I'm holding my pee and I cough or sneeze, yeah, I will tinkle a little bit. And she's like, "Okay, that's a common problem." And I'm like, "Okay." And she's asking, what else did she ask me? Constipation, hold my pee. Like, do I like bear down hard when I'm having a bowel movement? I'm like, no, not usually. And so all these different questions she asked, and she was like, "Okay, well, this is not too bad." Still, I'm like, she's like, "You didn't know?" No, I didn't know. well, you didn't see it. I was like, what do you mean see it? Like, how am I supposed to see it? I'm not, I'm not, it's not like if I look down there, I'm going to see, you know, something. And I'm like, not knowing what is she saying. So on the thumbnail, I have posted a picture of what popped up when I got home and Googled vaginal prolapse because I'm like, what is this? I never heard of this. What is this? So those are some of the pictures that popped up when I got home. Anyway, so she's like, oh, and I'm like, how? Why are you asking me how I see it? And so she goes on to say, oh, it's not bad, and you're not gonna have surgery. So I'm like, surgery? Why are you even mentioning surgery? She was like, oh, no, 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 you don't need surgery. If it's not broke, don't fix it. I'm like, broke? What are you telling me that my vagina could be broken? What do you mean? So she's like, oh no, she's like, when she asked about the incontinence, like I said, if I cough or sneeze and I'm holding my urine, that I may have a little leakage. And she's like, well, how bad and all this. And I'm like, well, just what I just described. And, like if I go with the kids to the trampoline park, then I have to put on an actual pad because it doesn't matter how many times I go to the bathroom. If I'm jumping, yes, I will tinkle. And she's like, oh, well, that's not too bad. She's like, for me, and she goes on to tell me her experience. So she herself, and this one was younger than me. I'm 52, and I didn't ask her age, but she looked to be around like 40-ish. Okay, so not in menopause yet, but she's having this has had this same issue. And so she's like, oh, yeah, for me, if I did and went through a full Zumba session, my Depends will be full. And I'm like, it depends. So, yeah, I was like, oh, no, I don't wear Depends. I wear a liner or I wear a pad. If I'm doing something, moving a lot, it may need more than a liner. And so I was like, wow. So she leaves and she's like, oh, well, then, this can be corrected with therapy. I'm like, therapy? I'm like doing Kegels, because like after you have a baby, they tell you to do Kegels or to prevent like the leakage that I talked about. When, you cough or sneeze, you might pee because of where, the baby sits in your womb, it's on your bladder. So they say do Kegels. And most people know what that is. I'm not going to get into defining what Kegels are. Are you hearing me? Because this looks like the thing is off. Or you're not hearing me at all this whole time. I think I'm going to have to start over. Hamstring.